give him an extension. One of the reasons Doncic is with the Lakers is because the Dallas Mavericks did not feel comfortable giving Doncic a super max extension worth $345 million. If Doncic was still with Dallas, he would have been eligible for that deal on August 2nd. Interesting development in the NBA playoffs. The road teams are 5-0 in the second round of the playoffs. Indiana, New York, Denver, and Golden State started their second round series with road wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall, the Altadena Eden Fire, 100 Days and Counting, you missed an evening of reverence, reflection, and reality.
You gotta live in the reality because this is it. Every day, you wake up, is this my life? Don't stay in denial because yes, it is. Don't stay in bargaining where you're praying for a miracle and if it wouldn't have happened, then this is what I would have done. It did.
Our panel participants kept it real. Really real.
I think, number one, it's amazing to me how we ignore systemic racism in our community, and as a people, we've apologized for so much, but when will we stop apologizing for what we have paid for? Because the truth of the matter is we paid for this.
You can always count on KBLA Talk 1580 to give it to you straight, no chaser. When you love folk, you tell them the truth. Seeking the truth, speaking the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
When I was hungry, she cooked me something yummy. And when I was sick, she would take care of me. Fix me your chicken soup, let me stay home from school. But if I did, I couldn't leave the room, cause that was the rules. I could run in the race and come dead last. She say, that's my baby, stand up and clap. She taught me respect, and I'm thankful for that. And if I ever fell in love, make sure that girl love me back. Couple times when I was bad, she hauled off and whooped my ass. But I'm still her biggest fan, cause she made me who I am. Song is dedicated to my mama, taught me how to put on my pajamas. Always let me have a couple dollars, told me that my dreams I better follow. I love my mama, I love my mama. Ooh, I love my mama, I love my mama, I love my mama, mama.
KBLA Talk 1580. I told you we're celebrating Mother's Day all week. It's Mother's Week. I think Mother's Day should be moved from a Sunday to a Monday so we could all have the day off and go have brunch. But anyway, that's another show for another day. And you are always welcome in to celebrate your mama. If you want to join me Saturday, I'll be at the Michelle and Barack Obama Sports Complex all day celebrating your mama with a free concert. You just have to go to I love my mom. I think that's right. It's on Eventbrite. Go to Eventbrite. Okay, so I'm really happy to have my colleague joining me this morning in the clutch. Much appreciation. She is a host, a writer, a producer, a freelancer, and you may know her from Black America Web, EUR Web. You may know her from AfterBuzz TV. You better know her from KBLA, where she does weekdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Jill Munroe, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for stepping up. I was so devastated to hear about Smokey Robinson last night. And I'm thinking, who can talk to me about this? Who can talk to me about this? I want to talk to a lawyer. I want to talk to a shrink. I want to talk to a conspiracy theorist who can tell me all the reasons why this isn't true. But I thought, well, an entertainment expert probably would be better.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Of course, for those not paying attention, this is a pretty much breaking story. He's been accused, Smokey Robinson, our iconic songwriter and R&B singer, has been accused by 4 anonymous housekeepers. They're suing him for $50 million, battery, false imprisonment, negligence, gender violence, labor violations, breaks, meal times, wages, and overtime pay. They're also suing his wife, saying she contributed to the hostile work environment and didn't do anything to stop the problem. What was your immediate response, Jill, when you heard this?
shock like most people because it's Smokey Robinson. He's a legend. He's someone that we have probably been aware of all of our lives. And to my knowledge, never have heard anything negative or negative treatment of others. So to be accused of crimes like this is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm always, I'm a feminist, unapologetically. I'm always believe the woman. Well, nowadays I say trust and verify because it seems like there's just so many accusations coming from everywhere. But I'm going to tell you right immediately, I didn't believe it. I know we have to see what the facts come out and whatever. I've met Smokey Robinson only a couple times. I can't say I know him. I've met him a couple times. Did my show once. But I just don't believe it. It's just hitting me in a way, and maybe I'm in denial, but let me tell you, my gut says no, this is BS.
And I can certainly understand that because if you look at our current environment, you want to be sensitive, as you mentioned. It's believe women, but we need to hear the facts too. There is a reason why innocent until proven guilty exists. We know, especially when dealing with Blackness, that there are sometimes different aspects at play. Then you add in the layer of financial opportunity,
right?
And it just becomes tricky, especially considering I know that these women, some of them were allegedly not here under official status, so that was, per their lawyer, their hesitancy in reporting the crimes. But for me, I feel like I understand monetarily how that hurts, but you don't even want to attempt to see someone have to pay for their crimes criminally, if that is true.
Yeah. Well, someone is in the chat. Jamal Hakim is saying that he's settled past allegations. I don't remember that. If it's true, I don't have memory of that. But I've been around him. His energy is very positive. He just doesn't seem like the type that would be yelling racial slurs the way that Jane Doe number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are saying. And as you've said, Jill Munroe, the facts are going to come out. They're claiming that he raped this one housekeeper is claiming she was raped in the laundry room and in the garage, out of view of their closed circuit cameras. And 3 of them say that he assaulted them in a bedroom. They say they're also claiming work violations, that they were working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week without being paid minimum wage, overtime, or holidays. And I always push back when I hear, why did these women wait so long to say anything? Because women wait a long time for a lot of reasons, right? Shame, fear, you don't want to be labeled. I myself am a survivor of sexual assault, and I still haven't come out and said who did that to me. You'd know their name. So I understand why. But to me, why would you keep working every day as a housekeeper? That's a little different. Outside of the raping thing, if you were working all these long hours and not getting holidays, not getting paid, being called racial slurs, why do you keep working there?
I agree. Some of these women were working 10 years, 3 or 4 years, and claimed incidents happened 10 to 12 times. One said 23 incidents. So it's hard because it's such a fine line. There can be motivations on both sides. We can certainly understand entitlement from being in an industry that very much doesn't necessarily always support women or allows men to dominate in ways that are not nice. But at the same time, we've also seen situations switch and people change certain things to fit their scenario or when things were no longer to their liking. So it's a tough one, though. No one wants to believe this about one of our beloved icons, of course.
Yeah, and then you were also talking about an 85-year-old man. I mean, I know he looks young, famously, moves young, sings young, brings young energy. But why? I don't know. I don't even know what question to ask right now, because I'm thinking, and I'm sure some of my KBLA delegation are mad at me because they've heard things I've said about Cosby and R. Kelly, who I don't believe. I'm keeping it real right now. But I also feel like even with those folks, the question is due process, right? To your point, trust and verify. So you're going to say, oh, well, why are you supporting Smokey Robinson, but you didn't support Bill Cosby? Well, Bill Cosby had dozens of women who came forward with lots of very specific stories. And many of those women, most of those women, including Beverly Johnson, were not anonymous. And they were telling stories that were strikingly similar. And none of them got paid. So to me, it's very different. But I
think details like that, I'm sorry to interrupt,
no, please
but
do.
I think to your point, nuance and context is important. I think that in this current news cycle where we get things in bits and moments, for the entire context and nuance about what's happening is lost a lot of times. And I think that there is a reason why due process happens. I think there is a reason why the facts are more explored. Sometimes we've seen with Tony Busby and Jay-Z, for example, that there might be incentive from a lawyer's perspective, or there might be leaning in for some other reason. And we've also seen celebrities strike back in situations like this because sometimes it is easier just to pay and make it go away, but you can never erase that stain. So it's a very delicate situation.
I think it really is. I mean, you look at Michael Jackson and how his legacy has been tarnished largely because of settlements, where he just wanted to pay and make it go away. And, you know, then you get to be gone and you can't defend yourself, and someone releases, you know, a Neverland documentary. So it's a slippery slope. If you pay to make it go away, it doesn't really go away, does it?
No, it never does. So it's a hard choice, because at the same time, once it's out there, there are some people, no matter the outcome of this, will never accept either way just because it was mentioned.
Yep. So I did a Google deep dive while I'm talking to you on this, what Jamal is saying about prior settlements. And that source for that is this lawsuit. There's not other information about it. So that's really interesting, too. It actually sounds like kind of a smear job, actually, in that sense. Because what it's saying is that the lawsuit claims that there was previous settlements, but it doesn't actually tell you what those previous settlements were. So it's an allegation. They're alleging that his wife had prior knowledge of his sexual misconduct and that his wife had settled cases with other women. The only place we find that is in that lawsuit. So take it with a grain of salt. Jill Munroe is my guest. You're welcome to hop on at 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. With so many shows on our station weekdays and weekends, it's hard for me to keep track of all the guests who are actually in studio on any given day. I wish I'd known in advance that LADA Nathan Hochman was coming in studio for a recent interview. Had I known, I would have loved to have personally greeted him and then asked him why LA City Council member Curran Price is being criminally prosecuted for allegations of misconduct similar to the conflict of interest violations for which former City Council member Kevin De Leon is only being fined. What's that about, Mr. DA? In fairness to Mr. Hochman, it was former DA George Gascon who actually filed felony charges against Councilman Price. I opined then on how these criminal charges against Price did not pass the smell test. I was concerned then that this was yet another wayward prosecution of a high-profile black elected, not to mention a waste of taxpayer money. I am even more convinced now that this is a hot mess. To be clear, neither you or I want a bunch of self-serving, greedy, conflict of interest criminals managing the people's business inside LA City Hall. But we also don't want selective or targeted prosecution of black politicians. We've seen that movie before, and we don't need a sequel. It's hard to watch Kevin De Leon get away with paying an $18,000 fine for repeated ethics violations, what he calls an oversight, and at the same time, watch the DA's office continue its criminal prosecution of Curran Price for issues allegedly involving his wife's clients. Motions, I might add, that were passed unanimously by the LA City Councilman. What are you saying, Tavis? I'm glad you asked. DA Hochman did not start this inquisition, but he certainly has the power to stop it. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Fundamental fairness. In the absence of fundamental fairness, we experience a cascade of deteriorating conditions. The erosion of trust, the weakening of social cohesion, alienation, marginalization, the legitimacy of authority diminishes, cynicism and disengagement grow, and ultimately, people abandon civic participation altogether. Fundamental fairness, Mr. Hochman, that's all we ask. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, my. Jill Munroe is my guest this hour. I'm laughing, Jill, because I went to look at your Instagram to see what you've been up to, making sure I'm up to date. And you can't go on Instagram without going down the rabbit hole. But they are arguing on the KBLA Instagram right now. Jill Munroe is on arguing race. We had rapper Jay French on last week, and they're still arguing about that. I guess Tavis just posted something up there. Jill Munroe is on weekdays from 6 to 7, giving you your daily dose of entertainment. We started out talking about Smokey Robinson, and it'll be interesting because remember, I don't know, of course you remember, you cover this beat, entertainment, Jay-Z being accused, what was that, like 3 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that, Miles, of rape. And many people were piling on saying he's going to be in the same situation as Diddy, but he's not. They actually seem to have debunked that claim pretty effectively.
Not only debunked it and proved the accuser was either lying or suffering from something else, but Jay-Z is suing the lawyer that represented her. So he refused to take the situation lying down. There were a lot of facts that didn't match up. The timelines were wrong. Things as small but large, like she claimed she was watching a video of the performance inside the MTV VMAs in Times Square on a video jumbotron. That wasn't there yet at the time she claimed the assault happened. And the timelines for where she claimed that the drive was to the home. So there were just certain things that didn't add up, Jay-Z's location and whereabouts, and he's taking his name back. The initial he felt that Tony Busby, the lawyer, was trying to extort him, that there was an offer of a settlement. Like, look, you don't want this public. We can keep you out of it if you take care of this first. So,
Yeah, and there were a lot of holes in the story. But you saw when it first came out how contrite they were. What was it at Blue Ivy's Lion King premiere? You know, the family standing in solidarity, but everyone was sort of muted. And so it was interesting to see how hard they pushed back. Now that guy Busby, Attorney Busby, that's the same guy that has a lot of cases against Diddy, right?
yes, he does. And he also has this pattern when Deshaun Watson, the NFL player, was accused of situations with certain masseuses down in Texas. He also represented multiple women in that several were not actually credible. I'm not sure about all, but he has a reputation of jumping on board for opportunity. So
Yeah, so I mean, and I always mention this. You know, Al Franken, he was a senator. He was accused by this right-wing talk radio lady of funny business, but really he should have fought that because that wasn't credible. And there was just one goofy picture of them together with him clowning, and people in the Senate were calling for him to step down. Democrats, I'm still mad about that, Jill Munroe, because he should still be a sitting senator. And that case to me, and he's not even black, okay? So that case to me is the poster child for trust and verify. Believe women, but women, you know, just like men, everybody lies sometimes, especially when there's a profit motive. And this is going to sound conspiratorial, but it feels right now in my gut, it feels like they're just taking down every black man with money.
I mean, I can understand why you feel that way. Every other day, there's a new case. Byron Scott, the former Lakers legend, there's a case that has just been filed against him that goes back 30 years. And at some point, you wonder, again, understanding and respecting that it can be a difficult thing as a survivor to open up about these things, to confront it. But at the same time, how do we sort of reconcile these things when we can't necessarily go back and look for evidence? It comes down to my word versus yours in a lot of these situations.
Yeah, it's terrible. Well, I wasn't even tracking that Byron Scott case. They have accused him of assaulting a 15-year-old 40 years ago. Which means, I mean, okay. Like I keep saying, yes, I am also a survivor, so I don't have that question. Why did you wait so long? I understand why people wait, and why some people never come forward. But on the other hand, how do you protect yourself as a celebrity, as a person in the public eye? I mean, I'm looking at this. Well, if I was a millionaire or billionaire, would I ever have a live-in housekeeper or assistant? Would I ever be around a housekeeper or assistant without witnesses at this point, having seen all of these lawsuits and accusations?
It's really difficult because these are services that you need and you require, and there's a certain amount of vulnerability on both parts in that, because you are allowing someone in your home where your private activities happen, and there has to be a high level of trust, and that can at the same time be used against you. And then if you continue adding people to the mix, then the concern becomes, are my personal details going to leak? Do I have to worry about things in my different people coming in and out of my circle? So I think it's very hard, especially in this social media era, especially when there's always been the motivation there for a financial gain, but there's more of a heightened sense, I believe, with social media because the microphone is so big and it doesn't require facts.
Yeah. Wow. They're saying that Byron, that he assaulted her at Campbell Hall. That's a private school here in LA, which I've actually toured the campus. My kid was thinking about going there. Wow, that would be while he was at the school while she was giving him a tour. He pulled her into a closet. Okay.
Yeah, he was allegedly there to film a Lakers spot. He claimed, now he has admitted to having contact with this woman, but he is maintaining that he believed her to be 18. You're at a high school. I don't know if I would take that risk. But then again, in the 80s, I went to a school that, not Campbell Hall, but was Campbell Hall adjacent. Like, we played each other in sports. And so I think also at that time period, when you think about the Lakers and sort of, we're coming off of the groupie era for rock stars and hard rock, where 13-year-old girls were hanging out at nightclubs and running around. So I think the environment might have been different and certain things might have been looked at differently at that time.
Of course.
I know that is not
it's not a defense, but it is a reality.
It's just, it was a different time. So maybe he was willing to take that risk at that time because it was thought about differently. I mean, there were whole songs from the rock era about young girl relationships and things of that nature. So I think it again, not a defense, but a different time and a different thought process going in. But to your point, currently, what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do? I don't know what you do, but that was the same conversation we had about the Cosby case. It was a different time. People were going to the Playboy Mansion. Maybe it was normal to have 16-year-olds there. It's still illegal, but also normal. But saying you had consensual sex with a high school student and you thought she was 18 is, well, yeah.
A lot.
It's a lot. Thank you, yeah. So, what do you do? I don't know what you do, but how do we, the public, process this? I've said repeatedly, and as you know this clock very well. You do a show here every day. We're up against news, traffic, and sports. But as consumers, as lovers of the music, how do we process this? I've said repeatedly that I don't think we should be banning music or television shows or movies because of the sexual or criminal record of those creators, those artists, because we would have almost nothing left. And I think it's up to the consumer to choose. Like, I'll give you an example, and I'd love to get your take on this when we come forward. I can't listen to R. Kelly. I just don't want to hear it. It makes me feel sick to my stomach. But I have no problem listening to Michael Jackson. That's my personal choice, and I think it has to be a personal choice, because if we start banning artists based on their allegations or their criminal history, we'll have nothing to play on the radio. News, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Tensions flared outside of a Grand Rapids, Michigan courthouse as protesters clashed during jury deliberations in the trial of ex-officer Christopher Shore, charged with killing a black man, Patrick Luoya.
I think that they are really weighing the options and the facts, and I really, truly hope that they come up with something soon.
The jury is deadlocked, but was told to keep trying. One person was arrested. Jurors are in deliberations today in the Tyree Nichols murder trial. 3 former Memphis officers are charged with beating him to death back in 2023. That was caught on video. None of the former officers testified. And a Lending Tree survey shows 77% of parents say raising kids is more expensive than expected, with nearly half having fewer children due to costs. The average cost to raise a child now is nearly $300,000, up 36% in 2 years. A $5,000 baby bonus is reportedly under consideration. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Another date for Lakers Nation to circle on your calendar. August 2nd is the day Luka Doncic becomes eligible to sign a 4-year extension worth $229 million. The Lakers are not obligated to give Doncic an extension. Doncic has 1 year left on his current contract that averages $53.7 million. The Lakers might want to see how Doncic is handling his offseason conditioning program before agreeing to give him an extension. One of the reasons Doncic is with the Lakers is because the Dallas Mavericks did not feel comfortable giving Doncic a super max extension worth $345 million. If Doncic was still with Dallas, he would have been eligible for that deal on August 2nd. Interesting development in the NBA playoffs. The road teams are 5-0 in the second round of the playoffs. Indiana, New York, Denver, and Golden State started their second round series with road wins. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-550-9651. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
And I so appreciate you being here with us. KBLA delegation invited in every hour with me at 800-920-1580. Talking with Jill Munroe, a KBLA host that comes on every afternoon or early evening, 6 to 7, with a daily dose of entertainment news, interviews, and the stars you love. And I posed the question about the music before we went to news, traffic, and sports. Apparently, Diddy's streams are down something like 80% right now as the trial begins. And I wonder what your thoughts are. Should we be boycotting? I noticed they took Cosby off. It's hard to find Cosby now. I think you have to go to Tubi. Should we be boycotting? Should people be banned artistically because they have legal convictions or problems?
I don't necessarily think so. I think that I am of the mind that you are. It's a personal choice for them. There's work connected to this work that others have contributed to, that have poured into, that will be penalized because of one person's transgressions. You have to make that choice independently. You mentioned R. Kelly and his music. I recently talked about his residuals challenge and that he recorded from jail during a call. And I wasn't surprised, but I was a little surprised the amount of support there was for him and future projects and where they stood currently, even with all of the information. So I think realistically, it has to be a personal choice.
Yeah. Well, I think it should be, because people, they're not going to stop listening to Elvis just because he was a pedophile or whatever the case is. But Diddy's trial is underway, right? They're doing jury selection. Apparently it's hard because who hasn't heard of Diddy in the case? And also some folks don't want to be party to the sort of sexually explicit testimony and videotapes and whatnot that may be shown. But regardless, we're expecting the opening statements to start next week, right?
Yes. And listen, it's an interesting juxtaposition of the two teams. I believe someone from Comne's Tree is leading the prosecution team. I think it's all white women. Diddy's team has recently brought on a black female attorney to join them. And it started off with a questionnaire of 700 people as potential jurors. They whittled that down to about 100 after the pre-jury questionnaire on Monday. And then they have worked that down to about 20 as of yesterday. I know one person who is a current attorney was dismissed because he read articles online about the case. And as an attorney, to your point, he may not just want to be involved in a case like this.
Yeah, that's wild. Do you think there's any chance? I mean, I guess my question is dual. Is there any chance that Diddy beats this? I mean, I guess there's always a chance, but the dual part is that it seems like America, and I'm including Black America, has piled on Sean Combs in a way that we haven't seen really since OJ. Black people are throwing Sean Combs under the bus.
It is an interesting turn. I think that we love a downfall, unfortunately, at times. I think that Diddy has been accused over the years of some things, and so he is an easy person to kind of paint as a villain because for some, you didn't see him grow in a way that indicated stability or that he had not given into ego, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think that I was watching a lawyer discuss it, a former prosecutor in the Southern District. He now is a private attorney. And he was saying that the stat about the feds and 98%, a large portion of that is for deals that don't even make it to trial. He said the cases that make it to trial, it's actually lower, more about 70%. Still a high percentage, but
to beat the
not
feds.
quite as high. Yeah, so there are 3 witnesses so far that are being listed as victims 1, 2, and 3. We know victim number 1 is Cassie. Victim number 3 was supposed to testify with her name, but indicated on Monday that in the filings they are unsure if she will testify. Right now it is open. And if her testimony was to come, it would be towards the latter part of their case.
And they did say that she might be backing out altogether. And that's supposed to be one of their star witnesses, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing that is interesting about this is that it is a RICO trial with no other members of the organization being charged. Now, we've seen that in, for example, the R. Kelly case. That's another one where it happened. But so it's possible. But there are some things that are interesting that kind of make you wonder if there are some cracks in the Fed's case that Diddy's legal team could potentially slide him through.
Yeah. I mean, look, the Cassie tape for sure hurt him. Because even people that are hardcore, like Bill Cosby didn't do it, R. Kelly didn't do it, are throwing Diddy under the bus. And that kind of makes me feel bad for him. I know that might sound crazy, but if the whole world is jumping to conclusions and nobody's on your side, that's not really justice either. I don't know. I guess we have to watch as the case unfolds. Let's go to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C. Hi, Fahima.
Good morning, Habaradani and K Pasa Dominique and Jill. What it do? I just wanted to make a couple of comments. One, the Cosby Show is available on Prime. And the other thing is that I every year I show the Raisin in the Sun, the version that Sean Combs was starred in. And the thing is, I feel that art is art, and we have to separate the people from their art. The other piece is Michael Jackson was acquitted, and the accusers later stated that their father put them up to it in an effort because he wouldn't produce a movie for them. And then the other thing is that it's not just the video with Cassie. Little Rob, for example, who worked for him, when he actually went to the feds and he talked about the alleged attempted murder that him and his son had participated in, and that's what sparked the raiding of his home in the criminal case. And Diddy has put a lot of stuff out there himself. They're
no doubt.
incriminating.
No doubt. I've seen video clips. There's lyrics in the songs. Yeah. I mean, no doubt. But when you talk about the idea of due process, when you're a black man in America accused of something like that, and even the black men in America are throwing you under the bus, that's a situation. I don't know that I've seen that. Even with OJ. With OJ, at that time, it was along mostly racial lines, but black folks were standing with him. Many don't now, but they did at the time. So I don't know that I've seen the kind of pile-on that we see with Diddy. That was my point.
Dominique, do you think that part of that pile-on is because of not just the sexual nature or the violence, but that he allegedly was a swinger in these, and that it involved other men? I
do think that. I think homophobia is absolutely a piece of this. And that's a piece, instead of celebrating his freakiness, that's why people are disgusted by it, I think. Because being a freak is not against the law. Having baby oil is not illegal. Sleeping with men, women, and whatever other, consenting adult you can get, none of that is illegal. I do think homophobia is playing a part here, for sure. You?
And I do, absolutely, which is why I brought it up. And just to mention Little Rod and his suit, one, he also, the cases against Cuba Gooding Jr. and Diddy's son, Justin, were dismissed because they weren't properly served. His lawyer that filed, Ty, I can't remember his last name, but he is another lawyer that has been accused of having shady practices and has been reprimanded. So Lil Rod would have been happy if Diddy had given him $50,000 instead of $30,000. That is the catalyst for his suit. So he was heavily involved. His lawyer did file a very detailed, we've never seen a filing with photos and home addresses in it, because I read through all of it. And it was just very interesting, and it was, to me, put out more to embarrass and force a settlement than for this case to actually move forward. Because I don't believe in this indictment, Diddy, you mentioned the murder or the attempt, well, Fahima did, and he's not charged with that. He's not charged with domestic violence either. So it's tricky on the charges. It's kind of broad, and I think for a reason, because I also think that social media heavily played a role in this.
Yeah. Well, and then to make matters more dire, I was actually texting with Al B. Shore the other day. He's got a book coming out, and he talks about Diddy, of course. The book is called "Do You Believe Me Now?" It's set to be published in September, but he's already doing an interview, making his rounds on the interview circuit. That is not good news for Diddy either.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts, and there are a lot of things that Diddy really did do that we know about, as far as shady business practices, taking publishing, having it in his son's name or his mother's name, and different things. So for some people, they feel like this is just due.
Yeah. But of course, in a court of law, you have to prove the crime that is being charged. You can't just say this person's an a-hole, so let's convict him. You have to actually prove the crimes that you're charging. Jill Munroe is my guest. We're still taking your calls at 800-920-1580. And you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in focus and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And also with Jill Munroe. And you can catch her today and every day, every weekday, 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on KBLA Talk 1580. I love our station. We have so many great, talented people, and Jill Munroe is one of those. So much to cover that I thought I was going to get to. We always run out of time. I haven't seen it yet, so don't quiz me on the content, and I can't wait to see it. But Sinners is doing amazingly still. Its third weekend has barely gone down, is on track to be the biggest grossing original film, meaning not a sequel, not based on a prior movie, in a decade. And it's barely going down. The word of mouth is so strong that even though this new Marvel movie has taken all over the big screen, those giant screens that it was playing on, it still hasn't dipped. It's already passed Nope. It's already passed every horror film. And on top of that, the soundtrack is charting. It's number 5 on the Americana folk albums roster, number 1 on the blues albums chart, and it's on some other chart. It's charting on Billboard in 3 different charts. What do you make of all that success?
One, it is a really, really great film. The depth that it taps into Southern Black culture, things that we don't really get to explore in a way that is not filled with trauma, let's say.
Right.
I appreciate that aspect of it, and it's original. Who doesn't love to see those actors on the screen? And I also think you have to look at the combination of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Every project that they've worked on together has been in the stratosphere. They have a chemistry that works. I think that they are our version of Scorsese and De Niro.
Okay.
And I can't wait to continue to see, things develop from them. So...
Yeah, and I think they've been really intentional in building in a certain kind of way, building into the mainstream and then being able to do a Sinners. I mean, a culturally steeped black movie in the horror genre, no studio would greenlight that if you weren't Ryan Coogler. And yet here it is as a worldwide hit. I love that so much. Let's go to Keith calling us from L.A. Hi, Keith.
How you doing this morning? Hi, good morning, Dominique. Good morning, panel. How are you this morning?
Welcome. What's on your mind?
It's interesting that the way I was brought up, social media wasn't able to impact me. But now everybody that is here and now is impacted by social media.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, because you can look at a lot of celebrities, different colors, different ethnicities, doesn't matter. They don't protect themselves well, and they don't protect their money well. So they take advantage of the situation. They get very demanding. And then once it becomes a legal issue, you have to ask the question, how credible is the person? You wait 30 years for 40, 50 years for Smokey Robinson. You went after Bill. You went after Michael. This platform has been laid long before now, but it's just getting worse that they're going after people. And with AI coming, see, this is where this is going to be a problem. With AI coming, people are going to be able to make allegations.
AI is here. Yeah.
AI is here, and it's going to be able to, because everybody has a cell phone now, so you can take a picture or a videotape, and you can manipulate it. My question has always been all along, though, this is where I was going, though. If you're accused of a crime at 10 o'clock in the morning, you have the plaintiff going on TV and saying, this person did so-and-so to me. How come, if you're innocent, and this is just me, if you're innocent, why aren't you countersuing that person to control the narrative? That's the problem. The narrative doesn't get controlled. That is the whole point. So we don't know whether to believe people or not to believe people.
But it's a tricky thing too, Keith, because especially when it's a rape allegation, you don't want to attack a woman or a child, right? Jill, what do you make of what Keith is saying?
I'm the same thing. You can't just double back right off the rip and go after them, because you will be viewed as heinous. Some people will never believe, once that accusation has been lobbied, that these people are anything but that. And to countersue or react in that way is viewed as potentially trying to control the victim or to try and re-victimize them. So I think it's a delicate thing. Each situation requires a different bit of nuance. We recently saw Shannon Sharp. He was accused of some things. He immediately sparked back and released the accuser's name and alleged text messages, and some people did not like that.
Yeah, I think it totally backfired on him. It totally backfired on him. But to Keith's point, Jill, I mean, Shannon also is a great example of a celebrity who didn't protect himself. You gonna go get a girlfriend from OnlyFans? You know, I'm sorry. No, I don't have sympathy if you lose your $100 million deal or your $50 million that she wanted to get from you. But yeah, I think his clapback totally backfired.
It definitely did, because it put a lot of other things out there that, once again, does the public really want to hear the intimate details of your sex life?
No.
Do they want to know, especially if you engage in things that are a little left of center? People may not want to know that about you, and then it might change their whole perspective of you. So I think we're in an interesting time. I think social media, even with Shannon, someone who had been famous for a very, very long time, I think that hype, the way that social media kind of caters to you and builds you up, and it exposes you to people that you might not necessarily be able to touch and cross paths with in the past as frequently and as easily. I call it dine and deliver sometimes for these athletes and that type. And I think for Shannon, he got a little caught up in that. On his nightcap show, he frequently talked about, long before this happened, how he liked younger women and what he did, his controlling things. So I think that he was ripe and ready for some of these things.
Yeah, Keith, I appreciate the call. I hope you'll call me again.
Thank you.
Well, Jill Munroe, it's been a pleasure talking with you this morning. I had about 5 more things on my list that we're not going to have time to get to, but I do want to congratulate Asia Wilson. Her shoe sold out in 5 minutes. Her new Nike sneaker sold out in 5 minutes. That's probably good news for the WNBA, right?
Shout out to Asia. Shout out to the WNBA. The season just kicked off, and I think we're going to continue to see the build.
Yes, I love that. Anything you want to shout out on your show today? And, of course, tell us how to track you.
First, thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed this immensely. I am on KBLA Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m., weekends at 1 o'clock. It repeats on Sundays. Social media, Stiletto Jill everywhere. Tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about the Byron Scott case, about some other activities, about the Vision Theater right there in Leimert Park, and some exciting things happening with that. And I have interviews coming up for the new Mara Brock Akil film, series on Netflix, and I'll be dropping those on Friday on the show.
Jill Munroe, thank you so much. Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a stacked show for you. Don't forget to tap in with me on social media. I'm at DiPrima Radio or KBLA 1580. Like, subscribe, and talk smack. Like my mama used to say, history is now, and we are making it together. Happy Mother's Day to all the mommies out there, especially you. Until tomorrow, be safe, stay informed. One love.
80 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Tensions flared outside of a Grand Rapids, Michigan courthouse as protesters clashed during jury deliberations in the trial of ex-officer Christopher Shore, charged with killing a black man, Patrick Luyoya.
I think that they are really weighing the options and the facts, and I really, truly hope that they come up with something soon.
The jury is deadlocked. Vote was told to